So as always, please use the Q&A box to ask questions, or you can raise your hand and we can bring you up onto the virtual stage and you can ask your question by speaking. Yeah, this is an opportunity to ask anything and everything about how to use Pozotron best specifically for fiction projects. So a lot of what we'll cover can apply to other types of projects, but we're going to delve pretty deeply into the character voice guide and some other things. All right, let's get started. So thank you very much for joining. Today, we are going to go into some really in-depth elements of how to use Pozotron, get the most value out of Pozotron on a fiction project. So first thing we're going to cover is the character voice guide. So this is the card view, which a lot of people don't actually know exists in the character voice guide. And I'll show you, I'm going to kind of go through a high level, a lot of the features, and then I'm going to go in and actually share my screen and show you a bunch of these elements. So first thing, you can add a character photo. And this feature actually was started by, or asked for by I'm just going to see if he is on the call, he is not here, so I won't say his name, but a customer who was doing an audiobook, and he said the only thing he needed for a certain character was a picture of Matthew McConaughey's face. That's all he needed to look at, and he immediately knew the tone, the pacing, the accent, everything he needed to perform that character the way he wanted to. So let's go first into the character photo. So when you go into you can see my Pozotron screen here, correct, Johnny? Okay.
Yes, sir.
When you go into your character guide, very simply, you can click on here, and we are doing the Jungle Book. Apologies if any of my friends at Disney are here. We did not mean to take screenshots, but hey, it might be in the public domain almost already. Anyways, I'm sure it'll be okay. So you can click upload a photo here. You can also replace it. But the idea here is you can get that visual representation of exactly how that character should be performed if you're a visual person that way. The character alias is something that a lot of people don't know. So in this case, an alias here we've added is Holmes, and that's because sometimes a character is not described the same or not referred to the same way throughout a book. So in this case, he could be referred to as Sherlock, he could be referred to as Holmes or Sherlock Holmes. But in this case, for example, Bagheera could be referred to as Panther, Baloo could be referred to as Bear, and I believe Mowgli, man cub. I guess that would be 2 words. So you can see here, it actually, then there's a lot of things you can do with this. First, the alias allows you to use the markup script and connect Mowgli and Man Cub or Bagheera and Panther for future iterations of the character voice guide. And we'll get into some of those future features in a little bit later in today's presentation. It'll really get in depth on how you can prepare for your book based on someone being referred to differently. The classic example we use is Voldemort, Tom Riddle, and He Who Shall Not Be Named. All of these things are different ways that a character is, and I refuse to call him Voldemort as he is in a lot of the books. He'll be always be Voldemort to me. So descriptions versus voice notes. So you can see there are 2 separate, let me add, who's the snake? Yes, you can tell I have little kids because I know every character in the Jungle Book off by heart. Here you've got the character description, and this is designed, really you can use each of these different fields for whatever you'd like, but this is intended to be notes about what the character is like, his or her personality or other ways they're described in the book, versus the voice notes, which is, for example, Baloo, warm, cheerful tone, deep, soothing voice, playful and easygoing cadence. So all of these different ways that you can use these cues and take them from the book to be able to best prepare for your performance. Name, pronunciation, audio, and text. And I'm going to show you how the character voice guide in the next slide, how the character voice guide and the pronunciation guide can combine. But this field up here, where it says no phonetics, this is where you can record. So phonetic spelling of Mowgli, and then I can record Mowgli, 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 Mowgli. Save, and then you've got that correct pronunciation for that character's name. So that is a separate field. Then down here, which the second field, let's see if it comes up, is voice samples. We've actually just added, due to a number of requests, the ability, previously was only being able to do one voice sample. Now you can do, I believe, up to 10 voice samples for character. And there's a couple of reasons there. One, obviously, sometimes you need more examples just to be able to fully capture your performance. But two, for multicast books, if you've got, say, a duet performance where male and a female author or narrator, for example, are going back and forth chapter by chapter, but each of you may have to perform the same character, you can record a sample of your character voice for each narrator. And so to do that, you're going to click on here. You're going to click, you know what, I'm going to try and do, okay, well, nothing like trying to act live when I'm not an actor at all, but he's a man cub. So you've got one, you can add in notes here. So you could say narrator 1, and then you can add another voice sample. He's a man cub. And then you've got narrator 2. Again, there's a reason why I run a business. I am definitely not a paid narrator. Even my kids would rather listen to all of you read books than me. We've got a question here for voice sample. Can you link to a YouTube video, for example, instead of recording it directly? Great question. So yes, you can. So you can add in a URL here in this notes URL field, or you can actually, if you have an existing character sample, you can use the upload button here. And we are going to show you if you do have an existing book. So if you've incorporated Pozotron into your workflow from the script prep side of things later on in a book series, we'll quickly show you a workflow and direct you to a more in-depth tutorial on it for how you can pull character cues or character voice samples from an existing proofed book in Pozotron. So we'll show you exactly how to do that on a later slide, actually. Great question. Okay, now we're going to keep going here. Sharing and collaboration. So this is a tremendously important part of all the script prep tools. And really the main reason we created them is, yes, it's important for an individual narrator to do their prep that way. But it's also what I found after, I'd say probably close to in the thousands of discussions I've had with narrators over 3 and a bit years, is how difficult it was to get approval and buy-in some cases from your author, your rights holder, whoever you're working with. So the sharing and collaboration elements of the character voice guide are really important. So let's say, for example, you've done all your prep, you've got voice samples for each of these characters. What you can do is then there's a couple ways you can share it. You can click the share button, and this will allow you to invite someone. So I can invite Johnny at Pozotron.com. And then I can set his participant role. Let's say he's just going to be a viewer, for example. And if you ever have questions about what each of these roles mean, you can click this question mark up here, and I click done. He's going to get an invitation to access it. However, we do also have the online packet, which is this button up here. And that allows you to share a read-only version of the character guide. So here you could send this to your author, your rights holder, for example. They can come in, they can look at the details you've added, and then listen. I'm going to listen to my own voice here, which I never like. He's a man cub. They can listen to that and then send you a quick email back with their comments or feedback. In future versions of this tool, we are going to be able to allow threaded commenting. So if the author can't stand your voice for Bagheera, as most people would based on the quality of my acting there, they can give you notes. Hey, this should be a deep baritone, for example, or something like that. So a really, really easy way to share and get feedback and collaborate on that, on what you've prepared. Okay, now we're going to go into pulling character samples from previous books. So I'm going to go into a very high-level explanation of this, but we will also point you to our support page, which the article is almost done and posted. But this is a workflow that involves using scan occurrences. So we're going to pull, so let's say, for example, and this is a LibriVox recording, so it's not, anyways, the acting isn't going to be ideal from a quality perspective. But what we're going to do here is we can search said Bagheera. So now we've got 31 examples of said Bagheera in the script. So in theory, those are going to be around the actual lines of dialogue from Bagheera. So what I can do is I can click here. I can go scan. So of course, with 31 examples, it'll take a little while to scan live. So I'm actually going to skip the scan part. And what I'm going to do is, Oh no, I can't skip the scan part. So
said Bagheera.
here we go.
Said Bagheera.
So then what I can do is I can go in here and maybe let's just say you can obviously listen to all of the examples, but what I'm gonna do is just go mark up let's just do chapter 2. So I've got 5 examples here. I've marked them up. I'm gonna click annotate. I can also add a tag here. So I could add a tag, for example, hashtag character voice. Oops, that's what I want to do up here. Hashtag character voice. I could also do add studio. And the reason for this is this will allow you to then export just a report for just those exports. Then what I'm going to do here is I've now got all of these are technically marked as pickups, but I've separated them with those tags. And then what I can do is go back into proofing. I can export, there's a couple things you can do. You can either export the pickup audio, which will just be those samples, just be those versions of just the audio from those snippets, or I can export a pickup packet here. Now I can do only the ones that have hashtag character voice include, click export, and I'm going to go prior sentences as well. And then now I can go listen and actually just go here and go download. This will actually pull this.
As soon as he was old enough to understand things, Bagheera told him that he must never touch cattle, because he had been bought into the pack at the price of a bull's life. All the jungle is thine.
So then you can save this as a character sample and upload it into your character voice guide. It's a bit of a workaround right now, but as I'll show you at the end of this presentation, when I go into some of our what's coming next, there'll be a much easier way to do this from an existing proofed book. But go to our support.pozotron.com and you'll be able to search. What should they search, Johnny? What are you going to title the support article?
Something along the lines of using scan occurrences to pull pull character voices from an existing project. Cool. Name's still being developed, but we do have a question that's just come in from Barbara. She's curious. Oh yeah, go ahead then.
No, you read it out. I'll give you a chance to talk while I drink my coffee.
She's curious if these extra functions, i.e. pronunciation, characters, audio analysis, fall into the same PFH cost, or would I be billed extra? Right now, she only uses the proofing function.
So they are an additional cost. I'm going to move my microphone a little closer. They are an additional cost. They're on a per project basis. So right now it depends on your proofing subscription. So your cost is either $7.99 if you're on a publisher plan, $8.39 if you're on a narrator plan, $8.99 if you're on a smart rollover plan, or $9.99 if you're on a pay-as-you-go or have no proofing plan at all. This is a good segue into, we are going to be announcing a price increase actually later today. So those costs are going to increase for the script prep tools, and everyone should see it in an email in their inbox within the next 2 and a bit hours. So please reach out to us if you have more questions of that. But good question, Barbara. For that single project cost, you get access to the pronunciation guide, and I'll just jump in back here to the pronunciation guide, the character guide, export mark script, which we're going to show off, and the scan occurrences tool. So all of those are included for that single project cost.
And one thing to mention about that is they're unlimited use. So it doesn't matter how big your script is or how many characters you add, how many words you add to your pronunciation list. It's just a flat fee for unlimited functionality there per project.
Good point. Thank you, Johnny. All right, now we're going to go into the pronunciation guide. So again, a really, really powerful tool to be able to not only pull all the difficult to pronounce words from your book, but then also research them. And I'd like to think it's a pretty simple tool to figure out. So first thing I want to touch on is the different word categories. So Pozotron pulls words from your book based on 4 different categories: capitalized rare terms, which are proper nouns that are capitalized in the book and also rare in the language of your book. Complex words, we have a number of different ways we do this. The primary one is we have 140 or 150,000 words in a big database that when we launched this tool, we paid narrators to go through line by line and grade each word's complexity. And then foreign words, words that are not in the same language as the book. You can also toggle on capitalized common, which, as you can see, increases the number of suggestions by 815, but gives you every suggestion in the book. Quick question, how do you handle recurring content for series? So if we've gathered information for book 1, can we build upon the same project for book 2? So yes, we can. And I'm going to show off that transfer research function a little bit later. So great question. That is going to be handled a little bit later. So these word categories, if you have a word in the custom category, that means you can add, that means you've added a custom word up here. So if I go add Pozotron, for example, which is definitely not going to be found in the script for the Jungle Book, that should come in as a custom word. And of course, now that I'm doing this in a demo, yeah, there we go. It comes in as custom. So that's what those word categories mean. If you ever want to add your characters to your pronunciation guide, very simply, so if you've done a phonetic recording or added in the text or a recording in this pronunciation box here on your character guide, you can go in here, go pronunciation and characters, and now it should show 9 words, interesting. And we've got set Mowgli added here. And then you've got, this is, pronunciation and characters, because it shows all of our characters. You can see here, you can add in phonetics. So bag, and now if I go back into my character guide, that should show here. So that's how you can link those pronunciation and characters using that function. Sharing and collaboration, honestly, very, very similar to the character guide. You can use the share packet here. You can share an online read-only packet. One thing I didn't show before is there are a couple other exports here. So you can export the pronunciation packet into an offline file, which is a zip file with an HTML that you can open up without internet access. And then all of your audio files will export as individual files as well. So that's a really good tool. I know some of our customers will archive those as their books are done, so they can just have those, offline available. And you can also export this to Excel, which will have all of that same information, obviously, except for Excel doesn't handle the audio file. So there'll just be a little clickable link into that audio file. So lots of different ways you can share and collaborate. Again, really important that you're on the same page as everyone else involved, in your project. Another question, is there a way to share a page to gather pronunciations from the author and have them populate terms and how they'd like things to be pronounced, or is it only able to be filled out by the Pozotron account holder? No. So there is definitely a way to do this. Again, you're just going to click share. I've already shared this project with Johnny. Then what Johnny can do, let's say specifically for I'm going to remove said Bagheera here. And what I'm going to do is add, would be a word. Here, I'll go to the suggestions list for a word that's not going to be found. Go to my Baloo and Kotick. So then what you can do, you can go through the ideal workflow is you go through and fill in all the gaps that you have in terms of, you fill in all the word that you know how to pronounce. And then what you can do, share that project. The author can come in and access that project and then use this filter here to show only incomplete, or you can show only empty. Only incomplete shows everything that only empty only shows you the entries that have both no phonetic text and no audio recorded. Only incomplete shows you only the entries that don't have both recorded, if that makes sense. Did I get that right, Johnny?
Yep, makes sense. And one thing I mentioned, this is for fiction books, there's going to be a lot of words that we won't find in Oxford or Merriam-Webster or anything like that. So this is a great way when you share it with the author. If you want to open up the share button again. So a great thing to do is for a permission for them, I would recommend selecting the researcher role. This gives them access to the pronunciation guide and the character guide and any of the script prep features, but doesn't give them access to the proofing. So if you've uploaded recordings that aren't quite ready, they're only seeing this here. And Adam, are we planning to be able to tag people in?
Correct. Yeah. So a future release will allow you. So there'll be something here I could tag, at Johnny, for example, as my author on 3 or 4 names. They would be able to come in and sort that list just based on the things they were tagged in. We're not quite there yet. But that is the goal there. And also it seems like there's a few people who don't use our script prep tools really in depth. One thing that you can do here is if you would like to change the dictionary source. So we've got Oxford US, Oxford UK, Forvo, and Merriam-Webster here. if you click on this button here where it says Oxford, you can choose your different versions here. Forvo, for example, you can click save. It'll search in any language. And now what I can do, see if Bagheera is found in Forvo. Yeah, so we've got 3 examples of Bagheera here.
Bagheera.
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 So I'm going to choose the English one. I can click this plus button. And then now you see it is
Bagheera.
So Forvo, especially for character names, is likely your best resource because it's essentially a crowdsourced version of this. So here's another example: Baloo.
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 Interesting. Scottish version of Baloo. Love it. I have a lot of Scottish family. So now here we can do Baloo and then
Baloo.
And then it gives you the Forvo link. Or sorry, it gives you the Forvo source here. And then that's the alternate pronunciation search that I just showed you as well. One thing we are building, so currently this cloud only shows up for Forvo because Forvo gives you multiple different entries. We are going to be merging this cloud where it's essentially you can have, so if I've got Forvo as my source, there may also be entries in Merriam-Webster, Oxford GB, Oxford US. This cloud in a future release will actually, if you click on this will show you all the search results from every single one of our dictionaries. So you'd be able to click on that, listen to all the results, and then choose using this plus button, choose the one that you want to merge into your project. Okay, let's keep moving forward. This should be a pretty quick one. We've also been able to add what's called a custom character guide and custom pronunciation entries. So what this allows you to do, let's say I know, I'm going to go back to here. Let's say, for example, I know that I'm already going to be doing it's actually the book is called The Second Jungle Book, but I'm going to be recording the audiobook for The Second Jungle Book as well. What you can do here is you can go click on here, add to pronunciation dictionary. And then what this does, this adds all of these words into a custom dictionary just for my account. And then once these go away, I can access that by clicking here, clicking on profile, and then clicking on pronunciation dictionary. And now all of these words have been added into my pronunciation dictionary, my custom dictionary. So the next time they're added to a project, it'll pull from the pronunciation dictionary that I've created. You can also do the same thing for a character guide. So if I go back into my project here, close these windows. Oops. Opened the wrong project. I can go into the character guide and do something similar. I can use this plus button. You can also, can you make a note, Johnny, we need to add a feature here where you can add all of those.
All characters. Yeah, I think that exists for pronunciation already.
It does. Yeah. So here, if you click on import export, you can go add all words transfer all words to the pronunciation dictionary. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to go transfer all. And now in theory, all 9 of those should be found in my pronunciation dictionary. And we will be adding that feature. It's an oversight. We will be adding that feature from the character guide as well. A couple questions. When I open my pronunciation window, I get a message that says browser window size warning. I'm still able to access the feature, but the warning window takes up a lot of space. Try to change it. So that likely means either or both of your browser window is too small in terms of physical size on your screen, but also you might be too far zoomed in. So I can probably make that happen by zooming in really.
If you do that on the pronunciation guide or character guide, you will get that error message.
See, so I'm zoomed in way too much right now. And there you go. So to solve that, I could either make my screen full size, but then it's still there. So what I'm going to have to do is zoom out. So to zoom out in this case, all I'm doing is clicking control and scrolling with the trackball, but you can also do that in your settings on your window. So that likely means it's a combination of screen size and zoom as well. Do terms from in the custom dictionary show which title and project that term is being pulled from? So good question. Let me go into a different project here, and I believe it does, but I'm going to double check. So let's go into our webinar from November 30th. I'm going to go into the pronunciation, and let's say I want to add all the words from my custom dictionary. I'm going to go import export, add all words from the pronunciation dictionary. That's not police department, that's pronunciation dictionary. I'm going to click add. Successfully added. Now let's go find Mowgli Bagheera. So there is this audit feature where if you click on this last edited, this will show you how it was added. So you can see here, it was added from pronunciation dictionary from the custom. It does not actually show the book, but that is something that we should probably look at the original source. If we go into the pronunciation dictionary here, make my screen a little smaller. It does not actually do that. So that is something we should look at, Johnny, if you can make a note there. Great quote. Great question by anonymous attendee who's just killing it on the questions today. So in terms of the pronunciation dictionary, I covered this. You can add words one at a time using the plus button. You can add all words from a book to the CPD, which is custom pronunciation dictionary. CCG is custom character guide. And then pull all, using that same thing, you pull everything from those dictionaries into your book. And then one thing to note, we will cover this. Let's see, is transfer research next? No, export marked up script. So there is also a way where you can show and hide. I'll show it right now, but where you can show and hide everything. So going to pronunciation, where is it? This I button here. So you can see this count, Pozotron and shockingly, Shere Khan is not, maybe there's a spelling mistake here. Oh, there is, because it's Khan, I believe. Oops. And so you can also edit the, as you can, just go here. If you click on this pencil icon, this will actually change how the word is found. Now, if I do Shere Khan, now this will ask if I want to research it. I'm going to click yes. And now this little spinner will come up and it'll start counting, trying to count that again. But if I click here, if I go hide words with no instances, now you will no longer be able to see Pozotron because that is not found in the book. So if you're transferring 1,000 words from your custom pronunciation guide into your book and only 50 of them are found, you can use this show hide button here. So your list isn't completely scrambled or completely cluttered. That's the word I was looking for, by all the words that are not found in your book. Okay, export marked up script. So once your character work is done, there's a whole bunch of different markups you can do. And this is a sample of a marked up script that I did yesterday. So you can see, and I will go into and show you this in Pozotron, but what this marked up script feature does is it marks up all words on your character guide in your character guide in blue font with a phonetic comment or a comment box with all the notes you added. All the words on your pronunciation guide in yellow. And if something is on your character guide and your pronunciation guide, that becomes green because blue and yellow equals green. So we will be adding the ability to customize colors, and we'll get into that a little bit later. That's not there yet, but that is right now, it's just blue, yellow, green. And to do this, once you're done all your research, you're going to go in, you can click this export marked script from either the pronunciation tab or the character tab. I'm going to click export marked script. And then you're going to be able to customize all the types of data. So you can just mark up the pronunciation guide words, just the character guide words, or all. You can mark up all occurrences or only the first occurrence as it's found in the script for each of those. And then you can determine what data you want to include in the comment. So the phonetic text, the link to the pronunciation recording that you made. You can mark up aliases, which, as I said before, you can mark up Sherlock and Holmes together with the same types of comments. And then you can decide, do I want to just include the character description box, just the voice note box, or both? And then also a link, a URL to the character voice sample. So it's really getting quite granular and detailed in what types of markups you can do. And we'll move on and transfer research. So this answers whoever's question it was, maybe it was anonymous attendee. Now we've done all of our research for this Jungle Book, book 1. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go import, export, transfer research, and I've got a book project created for the second Jungle Book. So I'm going to go from book 1, click transfer to book 2, and we've got 9 words transferred. Then you have to do the same thing for the character guide because they do transfer differently, or separately, I should say. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go transfer research, second Jungle Book. Success, words transferred 7. Oh, that's because there's 4 here plus 3 aliases. Now I'm going to go back, open up the second Jungle Book project, And now all of that work is found, Oxford, all that work is now found in the book. And as you can see, it is currently counting up. So there's 39 mentions of Baloo, 384 mentions of Mowgli in the second script. And this is where that eye icon is really helpful, because as you can see, there's only 2 words in the book compared to 6 words on my list. So very useful tool there for transfer research. All right, I showed all those things. Now we're going to go into a couple more things for multi-narrator projects. So if you've got a duet or however your multi-narrator project is assigned, there's a couple ways that you can do this. So one, you can use the project team function, which is currently only available for enterprise users. So Johnny, do you mind actually just going in the admin and giving me publisher access to webinars@pozotron.com? Oversight on my part. So I will cover the second part of this right now, actually. I will log out and go to enterprise.pozotron.com. So what I'm going to do here, I can go into project demo. And what I can do is if I click on project team, you can assign roles for different narrators. So Johnny Freeman is narrating chapters 1 and 2. Narrator Joe is narrating these chapters here. Then what this will automatically do, and you can also do it by book, is, I'm going to close this, is now when I've got pickups marked, I'm just going and randomly mark some pickups here for chapter 1. And then I'll go chapter 3, and then I export my pickup packet. This will automatically give a tag for Johnny F's pickups and narrator Joe's pickups. So it's a really easy, simple way where you can separate those. In future releases, we are going to make it possible for when you have a pickup. And this is a bad example of a chapter because there's a bunch of PDF issues, but you could go in here and type @Johnny F, for example. It's not currently possible. Currently, you can only type @narrator1, @narrator2, and do it that way. But that is a very useful tool. The other thing you can do is if you want to separate and automatically tag narrator 1 and narrator 2, is you can actually include that at the end of your audio file name. So I am just going to open up a multi-narrator project here very quickly. Of course, I need my authentication code, good old 2-factor authentication. You can't see my screen here, right, Johnny?
Nope, just seeing the presentation.
Okay, because that would not be very secure. Sure, this is riveting for everyone watching me log in.
Well, while you do that, I do want to give a suggestion. So when you're sharing the pronunciation guide or character guide with an author, sometimes if they are not super tech savvy or not familiar with Pozotron, they need some coaching. So wanted to first off offer that. So if you're inviting someone to a project, feel free to copy myself or Adam and also let them know that we're happy to show them the ropes. But it did just spark an idea to one of our customers has a great email template that he includes whenever he shares a project with the author, kind of going through the step-by-step exactly what they need to do to make it efficient for everybody involved. So I think, Adam, we should probably put together a generic template like that and include that in a support article. So
that's a great
I'll
idea.
link that afterwards, but yeah.
Yeah, and we can link that to YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. So one thing you can also do for multi-narrator projects, if you include @narrator1, @narrator2, and on all the way up to 20, I believe, at the end of your audio file name before you upload your chapters to Pozotron, it will automatically tag, if I go import export, it will automatically tag narrator 1 on all the chapters, all the pickups for chapter 1, and narrator 2 on all the pickups for chapter 2. So just a very easy workaround there to automatically assign chapters to individual narrators. And eventually we will be making that into, excuse me, if you do @Johnny F at the end of your audio file, excuse me, it'll do the same thing.
I didn't even know that. That's very cool.
Yeah, there you go. And so when you have individual people tagged, so using at narrator 1 and at narrator 2, all of our exports, so pickup packets, proofing report, and DAW markers. So if I'm exporting DAW markers, I could just export the DAW markers for narrator 1 and then just export the DAW marker for narrator 2 separately. So it's a really good customizable way to make sure that all of your export reports are customized. Okay, any questions about the million things I've thrown at all of you in the last 42 minutes? Otherwise, we'll go into some exciting stuff we have coming next. Are narrators able to share character samples along the way in the project team, or does it need to be done ahead of time? So yes, what you do is you would just upload, you'd go in, if you've got multiple people working on this. So what you do is say Johnny and I are collaborating on the same project at the same time. I would go into the character guide. I would record, log back into webinars, go back into the Jungle Book. So let's say we're starting on the second Jungle Book, for example, and we've got a new character. Say we've got Ka here that we haven't had one, and Johnny and I are both going to be working on it. What I would do is I would record a sample here. So here's a sample of Ka's voice. Say, and then I click save, and then Johnny could go in, access that same project and record his sample, and then it would populate here and you'd just be, working on the same project live. Is there a way to do a practice project on Pozotron? There's so much information here. It's kind of hard to keep the workflow in one's head. If one hasn't done this before, I'd be reluctant to try all of this for the first time, actually. So yes, definitely. If you haven't used our script prep tools or any of our tools, email our team at help@pozotron.com and we'll get you set up with a free trial. I'm a big believer in validating the tool before you start paying for it. So if you want a free trial, try out any of these, please do reach out. Also, you can use the book a demo link right here. If you click this book a video demo, this will open up a link to our calendar, and this will book with any of our team members who are we're all in multiple different time zones, one in Europe, one in Eastern time, one in Pacific time. So you'd be able to give a whole bunch of different options on calendar booking times. And not only will this come with your free trial, but you can also really get in deep with Johnny or I or Daria from our team on your workflow and help give you, kind of the best examples of how to incorporate this into your workflow.
We also do have a demo packet that you can use to actually try out. If you don't have a project you want to throw through Pozotron, we do have a test kind of project that you can use and just to learn the ropes and see how it all works. But definitely book a call there. Webinars can be very fast and a lot of information thrown at you, but on a one-on-one, we can dive into your workflow. So,
for sure. And if you don't want to use our demo packet, I mean, almost all of our the Jungle Book, for example, we just go to Project Gutenberg and download, free not open source. I can't remember the right word, too much talking. Public domain books. That's the word I was looking for.
That's it.
Okay, what's coming next? So that ability to search all API dictionaries, which is that use that cloud button and you'll be able to search pronunciation across all of those dictionaries with one click of a mouse. Better integration between script prep tools and proofing. So this is going to come a couple of ways. One is we're building a way for an existing book that's been proofed in Pozotron from the proofing screen to pull character samples and pronunciation and proper phonetic pronunciation, stuff like that. And then going the other way as well, once you've done all your script prep, you would have a way in proofing where you could say, highlight all words on your pronunciation list. So your proofer, whether it's yourself or a freelance proofer or whoever's doing it, would be able to then compare the pronunciation you recorded on your pronunciation guide with how you pronounced it in your actual recording of the book. So there's a whole bunch of different going both ways, from script prep to proofing and then from proofing to script prep, where we're going to be able to be integrating a lot of those tools, which will be really powerful. A few improvements are coming up to the export marked script feature. So one of them is going to be able to customize the color. So you can customize different highlight colors for different characters, for example, and then also be able to mark up Word files. Currently, the export mark script only works if you started with a PDF script. This is really exciting. So we are building a dialogue detector that will be built off of the next tool that I'm going to show you that we're going to release in beta, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So the dialogue detector, you'll be able to add characters, Sherlock or Mowgli or whatever, to your list, and then you'll be able to click a button, and Pozotron, using AI and machine learning, will be able to pull all the lines of dialogue for that character from the book. And so there's a couple things you'll be able to do with that. One, just read the 30 lines of dialogue, for example, for Bagheera or Baloo or whoever, and then use those cues to prep how you're going to perform that character. And then the flip side of that is, once you've done that, you'll be able to use that dialogue detector to say, okay, I want to mark up all of Mowgli's lines in the book, all of his dialogue in pink, all of Baloo's in blue, and you'll be able to automatically highlight and mark up your script exactly as you want, because I believe that markup is really important for a lot of narrators, but also takes a ton of time to do manually. So if we can make that where you get the same output by clicking a mouse 5 times, rather than spending 2 hours going through painstakingly through a PDF and marking up all lines of dialogue, that would be really powerful. Also, you'll be able to get a word. So in a multicast situation, you want to be able to say, okay, the person who's performing Mowgli has 300 words that they need to record, and here's all their lines of dialogue they need to record. So there's a bunch of, from an admin and project management perspective, a lot of potential uses for there. And then last but not least, I was really hoping I'd be able to do a beta test or beta demo of it, or I guess an alpha demo of this tool. It is almost there, but not quite there yet. But this is the first version of what I was just shown by one of our developers this morning. So he uploaded a book, he clicked on the character name Evelyn, and so it will show all occurrences of that name Evelyn from the book, but then this was automatically populated. So this automatically pulled aliases related to that character. So Evelyn is referred to as Laurie's wife, Evelyn and Miss Graham in the book, gender female, and then her voice is referred to as calm, kind, and happy throughout the book. So this was literally just clicking a button. Pozotron scans everything in the book and then pulls those cues out for you automatically. One of the goals with this tool is you're going to be able to, and I'm just going to pull up here what the mock-up of what the final version of this tool is going to look like. Johnny, you can see this screenshot here, hopefully. So what this is going to do is you've got all of your character here on the left. You'll be able to pull all the most descriptive lines of dialogue. It's going to be somewhere between 10 and 20 for that character. Then you could say, where's a line of dialogue that has some... Okay, so let's say, for example, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, who is usually very late in the mornings. So let's say that's he's always late, and that's something you want to add about that character, the way he's described in the book. You copy usually very late in the mornings, click over here in description, Control V, paste usually very late in the mornings. Or Sherlock in his deep and gravelly voice, you could copy that and paste it into the character voice note. So it's a way where you're going to be able to prep that character and how he or she is described in the book just so quickly and so much more effectively. So that's a feature we're very, very excited about. That should be coming out for testing and playing around with in the next couple weeks. Kate, I'm finding these tools to be extremely helpful as I'm in the middle of recording a series. The dialogue highlighting tool sounds awesome. Looking forward to it. Yeah, we are looking forward to it as well. Okay, I think that's everything. We've covered a lot in 51 minutes. Does anyone have any more questions? And as well, as we mentioned a couple times, the recording of this will be put on our YouTube page, and everyone who registered will get an email with a link to the recording as well. So feel free to jump back in and view it at your leisure. Okay, looks like we got no more questions. So thank you very much for your time, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your days.
Thanks for joining, everyone.